Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive wizarding debate. The kind where we step beyond memes, beyond TikTok hot takes, beyond always at its set to sad violin music, and really interrogate the moral architecture of the wizarding world. Today's topic is bold. It's controversial, and it's practically guaranteed to split the fandom right down the center like a well-cast reductor curse. Was Severus Snape worse than Dolores Umbridge? Now, before anyone throws a howler at their phone, before someone starts typing in all caps about redemption arcs or blood quills, let me clarify my position carefully. Severus Snape was deeply flawed. He was morally gray. He was emotionally damaged. He was often petty, vindictive, and cruel. But he was not worse than Dolores Umbridge, not even close. Because when we examine the nature of cruelty, the scope of harm, the intent behind actions, and the willingness or unwillingness to change, the gap between them becomes enormous. Snape is a damaged man who makes painful, complicated choices and ultimately sacrifices everything for the right side. Umbridge is an unrepentant architect of oppression, and that distinction matters.
And I'm here to argue the opposite, not because I love Umbridge, no one loves Umbridge, but because this debate requires us to be uncomfortable. Yes, Umbridge is cartoonishly vile. She's pink-clad tyranny. She's saccharine authoritarianism wrapped in kitten plates. But Snape's cruelty is different, and in some ways more insidious. It's personal, it's sustained, it's directed at children, and it's often excused because of his tragic backstory. We forgive Snape because we understand him. We condemn Umbridge because she's easy to hate. But if we measure harm not just by ideology, but by impact, if we examine how individuals are shaped, scarred, and diminished, Snape may very well come out looking worse. And that's what we're here to unpack.
Before we dive into examples, we have to define our terms, because worse is not a self-evident category. Are we measuring degree of cruelty, number of victims, severity of punishment, intent, redemption, long-term societal impact, or personal trauma inflicted? Because each of those metrics produces a different answer. When I think of worse, I think of deliberate oppression, systemic abuse, weaponized authority, cruelty without remorse, harm enacted not from pain, but from conviction. And that definition leads me directly to Dolores Umbridge.
And when I think of worse, I think of something quieter and arguably more pervasive. I think of consistent harm inflicted on vulnerable children by someone entrusted to protect them. I think of authority figures who erode confidence, who weaponize humiliation, who normalize cruelty through daily repetition. That brings me to Severus Snape. Let's establish common ground. Both were teachers at Hogwarts. Both had authority over minors. Both inspired fear. Both abused their positions at various points. But their motivations, their emotional landscapes, and their impacts diverge. And that's where this becomes complicated.
Let's begin with Snape. Not as a spy, not as a tragic lover, not as a martyr. Let's begin with Snape as a teacher, because that's where children encounter him. And here's what we see. He publicly humiliates Neville Longbottom repeatedly, not once, not twice, repeatedly. He mocks his intelligence. He threatens his toad. He sneers at his mistakes in front of peers. He calls Hermione Granger an insufferable know-it-all in front of the class, reinforcing social ostracization for a child who already struggles with belonging. He shows blatant favoritism towards Slytherins, ignoring misconduct, awarding arbitrary points, and punishing Gryffindors more harshly for similar offenses. He targets Harry from day one, not based on evidence of wrongdoing, but because Harry resembles James. That's not one bad semester. That's a pattern spanning years. And then we arrive at perhaps the most psychologically revealing moment. When Professor Lupin asks the class to face a boggart, a manifestation of their deepest fear, Neville's boggart becomes Snape. Not Bellatrix Lestrade, not Lord Voldemort, not the trauma of his parents being tortured into insanity. His teacher. That is telling.
It is telling. I'm not dismissing that. But it's not conclusive proof that Snape is worse than Umbridge. Let's parse this carefully. Snape is harsh. He's sarcastic. He's emotionally distant. He humiliates students. He plays favorites. All of that is wrong. All of it. But we must distinguish between cruelty that wounds pride and cruelty that wounds flesh. Because Umbridge crosses lines Snape never does. Let me ask, did Snape physically torture students? Did he carve words on their skin? Did he use magical objects to inflict bleeding punishment? Did he imprison children in Azkaban? Did he suppress entire branches of magical education? No. And those actions are not hypothetical. They are documented, and they belong to Dolores Umbridge.
Umbridge didn't just humiliate students, she institutionalized cruelty. Her blood quill forces Harry to write, "I must not tell lies," not in ink, but in his own blood. That is not strict discipline, that is torture. She banned practical defense against the dark arts, leaving students unprepared in a time of rising darkness. She silenced dissent with educational decrees. She installed surveillance and rewarded informants. She sent Hagrid to Azkaban without trial. She later participates in Muggle-born registration hearings, presiding over legal persecution. That's not bitterness, that's authoritarianism. That's systemic abuse of power.
Yes, and it's horrifying. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Umbridge's cruelty is obvious, Snape's is subtle. And subtle cruelty can be more pervasive. Emotional abuse is still abuse. Repeated humiliation reshapes self-perception. When a teacher tells you, directly or indirectly, that you are incompetent, foolish, unworthy, inferior, and does so over years, that shapes a child's internal narrative. You can see a scar from a quill. You cannot always see the scar from chronic belittlement. Neville's trembling in potions class is not theatrical exaggeration, it's anxiety conditioning. Hermione shrinking under mockery is not comic relief, it's intellectual shaming. Snape may not carve words in skin, but he carves insecurity into identity, and that damage lingers.
We must consider motive. Snape is not a gleeful sadist. He's a man shaped by childhood neglect, poverty, bullying, social isolation, betrayal, crushing guilt over Lily's death. He joins the Death Eaters out of belonging and resentment. He defects out of remorse and love. From that moment forward, he lives a double life, enduring suspicion, risking death daily, playing the villain to protect the mission. That psychological toll matters. His cruelty in the classroom does not stem from ideology, it stems from emotional damage. And while that doesn't excuse it, it contextualizes it. Umbridge, in contrast, is not reacting to trauma, she is enacting conviction.
Trauma explains behavior. It does not justify harm. Many characters in the series experience trauma. Neville, Harry, Sirius, Lupin. They do not respond by humiliating children. Snape had choices. He chose to stay at Hogwarts. He chose to teach. He chose daily interactions with students. And within that role, he chose cruelty. That is agency. Yes, he risked his life as a spy. Yes, he ultimately sacrificed himself. But redemption in war does not erase misconduct in peace. A man can be brave and still be a bully. A martyr can still have been cruel. We must hold both truths at once.
Here's where scale becomes critical. Umbridge's harm is systemic. She weaponizes government authority. She restructures education. She suppresses knowledge. She collaborates with fascist ideology. Her actions extend beyond individual students. They reshape institutions. Snape's harm is personal, interpersonal, targeted. Cruel, yes, but not systemic. The scale is fundamentally different.
But personal harm can be systemic when repeated over time. For 6 years, Snape exerts authority over hundreds of students. His favoritism reinforces house divisions. His hostility towards Gryffindors normalizes bias. His silence towards Slytherin misconduct reinforces hierarchy. Power does not need ministry backing to be damaging. The classroom is its own micro-institution. And within that institution, Snape holds authority. Authority misused, even privately, shapes culture.
Students feared Snape. Students despised Umbridge. There is a difference. Fear can coexist with respect. Hatred rarely does. When Umbridge arrives, even faculty resist her. When Snape becomes headmaster, we later learn he secretly protects students from the Carrows when possible. He sends students to detention with Hagrid instead of to torturers. He minimizes suffering covertly. That's moral complexity.
Fear doesn't become harmless just because it lacks pink cardigans. Neville's fear is not productive. Hermione's embarrassment is not character building. Harry's resentment is not mentorship. Fear as pedagogy is damaging, and the fact that Snape never meaningfully softens toward most students suggests that his cruelty wasn't strategy, it was disposition.
So we stand at a crossroads. One character enacts overt tyranny, one character enacts intimate cruelty. Which is worse?
Is brutality worse than belittlement? Is ideology worse than personal vendetta? Is redemption enough to tip the scale? That's the tension, and that's why this debate refuses to die.
Let's slow this down and really examine motive, because motive is where Snape becomes complicated. Snape was not born a hero. He was a former Death Eater, a man seduced by dark ideology in his youth, someone who craved belonging, someone who felt small and powerless, someone who made catastrophic choices. But then something shifted. When he realized that Voldemort intended to target Lily Potter, something broke inside him. His allegiance fractured, his loyalty cracked. And what followed wasn't convenience, it was guilt. Not shallow regret, not fear for himself. Crushing, suffocating guilt. From that moment on, Snape's life becomes defined by penance. He becomes a spy for Dumbledore, not for glory, not for redemption in the public eye, but in secret. No praise, no gratitude, no absolution. He lives a double life for nearly 2 decades. That is not easy. That is not casual bravery. Every interaction with Voldemort risks exposure. Every occlumency barrier must hold. Every facial expression must be controlled. One mistake means death. And through it all, he protects Harry, the living reminder of the woman he loved and lost. Sometimes that protection is subtle, counter-cursing Quirrell during the Quidditch match, brewing wolfsbane for Lupin so students stay safe, attempting to shield students during the chaos of later books. Sometimes it is enormous, agreeing to kill Dumbledore, not out of hatred, but to spare Draco's soul, taking on the mantle of traitor to preserve his cover, allowing himself to be despised so the larger plan survives. Intent matters, because intent reveals the moral direction of the heart. Snape's arc moves from darkness towards sacrifice. That trajectory cannot be ignored.
Intent matters, yes, but impact matters just as much, because good intentions do not automatically produce good environments. Snape may have protected Harry from Voldemort, but inside Hogwarts, inside the classroom, inside the daily lived reality of 11-year-olds, he created fear. He created humiliation. He created an atmosphere of tension. Let's separate his spy work from his teaching. As a spy, he was brave. As a teacher, he was often cruel. Those are two separate roles. Protecting Harry from external threats does not excuse targeting him in class. Risking your life in war does not entitle you to belittle children in peace. He humiliated Neville relentlessly, not once, not in a moment of frustration, but consistently. He dismissed Hermione's brilliance, undermining her confidence. He allowed Slytherin students to behave badly without meaningful correction. He singled Harry out from day one, projecting unresolved hatred for James onto a child who never wronged him. His intentions in the war do not erase his conduct as an educator. Intent may explain him, but impact defines him in the classroom.
Now let's pivot to Umbridge. Dolores Umbridge. Umbridge operates from ideology, not trauma, not heartbreak, not regret. Ideology. She believes in hierarchical control. She believes in ministry supremacy. She believes in blood status superiority. She enforces educational decrees, not reluctantly, but eagerly. Later, she participates in Muggle-born registration hearings, presiding over institutionalized persecution. She does not hesitate. She does not question. She does not wrestle internally. She is convinced, and that's chilling. Because ideological cruelty is not reactive. It is principled. It is cruelty justified as order. Snape, for all his flaws, does not operate from belief in oppression. He is not advocating racial purity. He is not rewriting law to silence dissent. He is not smiling sweetly while stripping rights away. He is bitter. She is authoritarian. Those are not the same.
And yet, Snape's cruelty operates from something equally disturbing: personal vendetta. His hatred of James Potter does not die with James. It transfers to Harry, a child. Imagine being punished because you resemble someone who hurt your teacher 20 years ago. Imagine being scrutinized, doubted, belittled, not for your actions, but for your face. That's not ideology. That's unresolved trauma weaponized. And trauma does not excuse cruelty. In some ways, personal vendetta is more intimate than ideology. Ideology harms groups. Vendetta harms individuals deeply. Umbridge may hate Muggleborns in theory. Snape hates Harry specifically. That precision cuts differently.
Redemption is the axis on which this entire debate turns. Snape redeems himself, not publicly, not triumphantly, but profoundly. He spends years risking exposure, endures hatred from both the Order and the Death Eaters, lives without recognition, accepts isolation, eventually dies protecting Harry's mission. He gives memories to Harry in his final moments, not for sympathy, but for truth. Redemption requires sacrifice. Snape sacrifices reputation, safety, companionship, and eventually life. That matters, because redemption is not about erasing past wrongs. It is about choosing a different path and staying on it. Umbridge never redeems herself. She remains cruel, unrepentant, power-hungry. She does not sacrifice for anyone. She clings to authority until it's stripped from her. The contrast is stark.
Redemption does not undo damage. Let's sit with that. If a teacher bullies students for 16 years and later dies heroically, are those 16 years erased? No, they still happened. The fear still happened. The humiliation still happened. Snape's sacrifice was monumental, but it was tied to Lily. It was rooted in guilt. It was deeply personal. We never see him reflect on how he treated Neville. We never see him apologize to Hermione. We never see him reconsider his favoritism. We never see growth in his pedagogy. He grows as a spy, but does he grow as a teacher? The text is ambiguous. Redemption in war is not the same as transformation in character, and that distinction matters.
Now let's talk about fear. Students feared Snape. Students hated Umbridge. That difference is important. Fear can coexist with respect. Strict teachers are often feared, but later respected. Umbridge's presence, however, inspires rebellion. Even other teachers oppose her. She unites Hogwarts against her. When Snape becomes headmaster during Voldemort's regime, we later learn he covertly protects students when he can. He sends students to detention with Hagrid rather than to the Carrows. He minimizes brutality when possible. Students still resist him, yes, but the hatred is not unanimous. There are shades. Fear alone is not sufficient to declare someone worse.
Fear is fear. Neville trembling in potions is not character development. It is sustained anxiety. Hermione's shrinking under mockery is not motivational rigor. It is intellectual invalidation. Harry's bracing himself every class is not healthy mentorship. It is hostility. You do not need blood quills to cause harm. Emotional wounds are invisible, but they shape identity. If a child dreads walking into your classroom every week, something is wrong. Whether the harm leaves scars on skin or psyche, it is harm. And frequency matters. Snape's cruelty was daily.
Now let's zoom out to power. Umbridge weaponized government authority. She passed educational decrees, installed surveillance, banned student organizations, authorized corporal punishment, collaborated with authoritarian rule. That's systemic oppression. Snape never had that level of institutional power until he became headmaster, and when he did, he operated within a dictatorship not of his making. During that time, he covertly minimized Carrow brutality when possible. He navigated tyranny from the inside. That matters, because resisting quietly within an oppressive system is different from building that system.
Yes, but power does not need ministry backing to be harmful. A classroom is its own power structure. Snape had authority over grading, authority over discipline, authority over classroom environment, authority over public humiliation, and for years he used that authority unevenly. Favoritism is misuse of power. Humiliation is misuse of power. Ignoring Slytherin bullying is misuse of power. Power doesn't need decrees to damage, it just needs imbalance. And Snape held imbalance in every classroom he entered.
So now we stand in the moral gray space. One character builds oppression openly. One character wounds privately. One enforces ideology. One enacts bitterness. Which weighs more?
Is tyranny worse than cruelty? Is systemic harm worse than sustained personal harm? Is redemption enough to tip the scale? Or does impact speak louder than intent? And that is why this debate refuses to fade.
If we're going to judge who is worse, we need to understand not just what they did, but who they are psychologically. Snape is, fundamentally, a wounded person. He grows up neglected. He is socially isolated. He is bullied relentlessly by James Potter and Sirius Black. He feels powerless in nearly every environment he enters. Hogwarts becomes both refuge and battlefield. Psychologically, Snape exhibits traits of chronic resentment, hyper-defensiveness, emotional repression, obsessive loyalty, shame-driven identity. He does not process trauma, he internalizes it. That internalization manifests as bitterness. His cruelty in the classroom is not exuberant, it is not gleeful, it is not playful, it is cold, restrained, cutting. Snape rarely smiles, he rarely laughs, he does not delight in suffering, he lashes out from emotional damage. And here's the critical point. Wounded people can cause harm without being monsters. Snape's life is a study in shame and penance. Once Lily dies, his identity reorganizes around guilt. Every action afterward is oriented toward atonement, even if that atonement is incomplete. That psychological complexity matters when judging moral weight.
But psychological damage explains behavior, but it does not absolve it. Let's profile Snape from another angle. He displays persistent grudges, projection, displaced aggression, favoritism rooted in identity bias, inability to emotionally regulate around triggers. His trauma does not just sit quietly, it leaks. It leaks into his grading, it leaks into his comments, it leaks into how he treats Harry, a child who resembles someone who hurt him. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Many people experience trauma. Not all of them choose to perpetuate harm. Snape had insight into suffering. He understood what it felt like to be powerless. That should have made him more empathetic. Instead, it made him harsher. That is not inevitability. That is choice.
Now let's examine Umbridge's psychologically. Umbridge is not reactive. She is not wounded. She is not tormented. She is organized. She is controlled. She is ideologically rigid. Her personality traits include narcissistic authority fixation, institutional loyalty over moral loyalty, disdain for dissent, emotional detachment from suffering, self-righteousness. She believes she is right, and that belief is unwavering. She smiles while punishing. She speaks softly while enforcing cruelty. She frames oppression as order. That combination, sweetness and sadism, is psychologically chilling. Snape lashes out from pain. Umbridge enforces from conviction. One is emotionally fractured, the other is ideologically whole. And ideological certainty can be more dangerous than emotional volatility.
But ideological certainty doesn't automatically make someone worse than personal cruelty. Yes, Umbridge is authoritarian. Yes, she delights in power, but she is consistent. Snape, on the other hand, is unpredictable. He oscillates between protector and tormentor. That unpredictability destabilizes trust. Children in his classroom never know which version they'll encounter: the cold disciplinarian, the vindictive mocker, the silent observer. Psychological safety requires consistency. Snape rarely provides that. Umbridge is consistently oppressive, which is awful. Snape is inconsistently human, which can be destabilizing in a different way.
Now we move into philosophy, because the answer changes depending on your moral framework. If we judge based on outcomes, on consequences, the scale tips towards Umbridge as worse. Her policies suppress magical education, endanger students' preparedness against dark forces, encourage peer surveillance, reinforce blood status persecution. Her collaboration in Muggle-born registration hearings contributes to systemic oppression. Her impact is broad, societal, institutional. Snape's impact, while harmful, is largely contained within interpersonal relationships. Consequentially speaking, Umbridge's actions affect more lives more severely.
But consequentialism can cut both ways. If we look at individual psychological outcomes, Neville's confidence is damaged for years. Harry's stress is compounded daily. Hermione's experiences intellectual dismissal. These are formative years. Childhood humiliation has lifelong consequences. We do not see full adult outcomes in the books, but we can infer that early authority-based humiliation shapes identity. If we weigh individual impact deeply, Snape's sustained presence over 6 years becomes significant.
From a duty-based framework, what rules were broken? Teachers have a duty to protect students. Snape fails at emotional protection. Umbridge fails at moral governance. But Umbridge's violate legal, ethical, and human rights principles. She abuses state authority. She criminalizes identity. She authorizes torture. From a rule-based moral system, her violations are categorical. Snape's are relational.
But relational duty is still duty. A teacher's first obligation is to create a safe learning environment. Snape fails repeatedly in that obligation. He may not torture, but he humiliates. He may not imprison, but he intimidates. Breaking duty quietly does not make it less broken.
Virtue ethics asks, who is this person becoming? Snape evolves. He moves from Death Eater to double agent to sacrificial protector. His trajectory is upward.
Umbridge remains static. She does not grow. She does not question. She does not soften. Her arc is flat, consistently authoritarian. From a virtue perspective, growth matters, and Snape grows.
But growth in one area does not equal virtue in all areas. Snape grows in loyalty and bravery. Does he grow in kindness? Does he grow in humility? Does he grow in emotional maturity? The text does not clearly show that. Virtue ethics requires holistic development. Snape's growth is narrow. Umbridge's stagnation is obvious, but Snape's partial growth leaves unresolved flaws.
Severus Snape is not a pleasant man. He is not a gentle teacher. He is not emotionally healthy. But he is not worse than Dolores Umbridge. Umbridge tortures students, enforces blood supremacy, silences dissent, collaborates with authoritarian rule, shows no remorse. Snape protects the wizarding world at great personal cost, risks death daily, shields students when he can, dies to ensure Voldemort's defeat. His cruelty is personal and flawed. Hers is systemic and ideological. His arc bends towards sacrifice. Hers never bends at all. And that difference is everything.
Snape is brave. He is loyal. He is complex. But complexity does not equal innocence. He bullies children, projects trauma onto students, abuses classroom authority, normalizes favoritism, rarely shows remorse for interpersonal harm. Umbridge is monstrous, but she is transparently monstrous. Snape's harm is quieter and therefore easier to excuse. The question is not who is more theatrical, it is who causes harm where it matters most. For children, in classrooms, during formative years. Heroism at the end of a life does not automatically redeem cruelty throughout it. And that is why this debate will never have a simple answer.
So what weighs more? Institutional tyranny or sustained personal cruelty?
Is redemption enough, or does impact linger longer than sacrifice?
We'll let you decide.